Developing your trust is one of the most important things you can do on your spiritual path. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 blocks that keep you from trusting more in your life. Stick around, we'll talk about it. If we don't have a basis of trust in our lives, we walk around the world feeling fearful. We walk around feeling suspicious. We walk around projecting our stuff onto the world and onto ourselves. So today we're going to talk about trust and what's blocking you from really trusting. So welcome. My name is Max Ryan. I am a spiritual teacher. I'm a law of attraction trainer. And what we do on this channel is to teach you, to train you, to help you to have a life that is full of peace, full of flow, and full of joy. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can hit the subscribe button and hang out with us. Watch my other videos. I really appreciate that too. All right. So let's get to it. I've been doing this work a very long time. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. And there are a few things that are incredibly important on our spiritual path or our spiritual awakening path, right? And I would say at the top of the list is to develop trust. You've heard me talk about it here before. In fact, I'm doing a series on developing trust based on some principles in A Course in Miracles. You can check those out. But if you don't develop trust, you don't really know who you are. And that is the truth. Because when you know who you are, you stand on a firm foundation. When you know who you really are, then you go into situations ready for anything. When you know who you are and you're trusting, then no matter what comes to you, what comes your way, good, bad, and different, you still land on your feet. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because there are a few very specific things that are blocking you from really trusting in your life. All right? So let's get into it right now. Okay. So, number 1. The number 1 block, these are not in a particular order. They're just 5, right? But the number 1 we're going to talk about, I just mentioned. You don't trust because you don't know who you are. You, and many people, think that as I always say, you think you're a meat suit running around. I am this body. I am this career. I am this sex. I am a mother. I am a son. All of those labels, right? We believe that we are those things, but those are temporary. Those are temporary, right? And anything that's temporary, you're always going to have a fear. I have a fear tattoo here. I have my trust tattoo here. When you're in fear, you feel vulnerable. And if you think you are just a body, just a personality, all that stuff, then you're going to not be able to trust that things are working out for your highest good. You're not going to be able to trust that you will be able to stand on your own 2 feet. You're actually not going to be able to trust when curveballs come into your life, because you are trying to operate from a place of the temporary, not from the foundational truth. Now, it's very hard for me as a spiritual teacher to explain to you what the truth is. That's an experience. But when you start to do the work, you start to get the sense. You have a different relationship to all that is. Because your perception is very narrow. I use this all the time. Your perception is very narrow. But when you know it all, and you have a sense of that, your trust just goes up. Because what happens is you end up feeling like it doesn't matter what happens. I'm good. It's good. I'm good. We're good. It doesn't even matter. And when you're in that place, it doesn't matter. Then you know who you really are. To put some words to it, you might say, I am the perfect child and emanation of source energy, right? You can use the word God if you want to. I like source or light. You are the perfect emanation of the light. And when you know that you are the perfect emanation of the light, everything's good, right? Okay, so that is the very first block, which is that we're operating from a false self and we don't know who we really are. So number 2 in the 5 blocks that keep you from trusting is your conscious and unconscious addiction to competition. Now, hear me out here. When we believe we have to compete for something, which the world was always going to tell you, first of all, there's nothing wrong with competing. But if you believe that unless you win, there's something wrong with you, and if you do win, then something's good for you, you're never going to trust yourself. You're never going to really trust, because if you believe in competition in that way, equating it to your self-worth and who you are, this comes back to number 1, not knowing who you are, then you're never going to trust. You're never going to trust. Some of the best competitors actually in the world are the people that just know. And the people that know that they do their best. They try. But if it doesn't happen, it has no reflection on their perception of the truth of who they are. Do you get it? So number 2 is being caught up in competition. Let me say this before we wrap it up. It could be competition for anything. Competition for money, competition for space, competition for spiritual awakening, competition for a soccer game, any kind of competition. So, staying in a competition mindset is always going to make you not trust yourself, because on some level you can fail. But if you start to know who you are, when you compete, it's a very different game, right? Speaking of competition, different game. Got it? Got it? All right, so that's number 2, being connected or having your self-worth connected to competition. Okay, number 3 in the blocks to trusting yourself is, this is a big one. It runs through everything, actually. It is this feeling of the need to be right. When you feel that you need to be right, this also could be the need for approval. Need to be right, need for approval is very similar, right? So, right? Get it? Right? Right. The need to be right keeps you in this place of, I could lose, I could win. Comes back to competition. Get it? Comes back to, I could lose, I could win. Something might be wrong with me. Something, I don't really trust that this will happen for me. I don't trust that they are going to support me. I don't trust the world, all of that stuff, because you have to be right. Many people, this might be you need to have the affirmation that you're right before you can trust. Do you get it? You have to be like, I was right, I get it. Now I can trust. There's nothing wrong with that. But listen to me very clearly. When your MO is that you need to be right, you're not trusting yourself. It's like the need to win, very much. It's like the need to win. So, this idea of being right is a big block. This runs through this runs through everything. In the Course in Miracles, it says, would you rather be right or would you rather be peaceful? And you have to ask yourself that very clearly and very honestly. And sometimes you're going to say, I need to be right now. But when you start to say, on the other hand, I'd rather be peaceful, immediately you go into trust. You go right into the vibration, the feeling. Okay, so number 4, this is the 4th block to trusting yourself, just trust in general, actually, is the fear of the unknown. Think about this for a second. It makes complete sense. If you're afraid that something bad is going to happen, you're not going to trust. If you're afraid of something either good or bad, you're afraid you might lose the job, you're afraid he might say no, You're afraid that your kids will not like you. You're afraid that everything that you've done will not lead to success. That's the fear of the unknown. On the other hand, when you don't fear the unknown, you go into the unknown as an adventure. You trust more. You start to say, well, it could work or it couldn't. That's okay. He could say no. He could say yes. That might be pain involved. It might be struggle, but that's okay. You trust more when you start to turn fear of the unknown into the feeling of adventure. It's one of my favorite words. You'll hear me talk about it over and over and over again. So if you can change the fear of the unknown, I don't know what's going to happen, to this could be an adventure, you're on your way to trusting. That is a, as we say, a resonant vibration. It makes you feel good. And when you feel good, you're trusting. You can't feel bad and trust. Do you get it? You feel good. You feel good. You feel comfortable. Coming back to, you have a firm foundation. You know who you are. So, number 4 is the fear of the unknown. It's blocking you from trusting yourself. Okay, before we get to number 5, I just wanted to suggest to you that if you want to know more about my work and any of this stuff that we do here, please go to Attract Positive Results and sign up for my newsletter. You get 5 free Raise Your Vibe videos, and those videos are very, very good, actually. You see me looking a little different, brown hair, the whole thing. So check that out, okay? Link is below. All right, so let's get to number 5. Here we go, number 5. The number 5 block to your trust is living in the past. Number 5 is living in the past. Now, let's be honest. All of us on this path in life have tragedy, have disappointment, have failure, have suffering, right? You agree with that on some level. Sometimes huge, sometimes minor, but we all have it. But where is your tragedy, your suffering, your pain? It's in the past. And what we do is we start to say, well, if it didn't work out before, it's not going to work out then, so I don't trust trying to do it again. This is really classic in intimate relationships, or really being vulnerable and falling in love. Most of us, I'm not saying all, most of us have had our heart broken. And when you have your heart broken, it's rough. It's scary. It's painful. It rips your heart out. Your heart gets broken, right? And so that's in the past. So when it comes another opportunity for you to fall in love, and you meet somebody and you really have a connection and you're feeling vulnerable and you want to go there, all of a sudden what happens? Not all of a sudden, it might be brewing in the background all the time. Oh, I was in love with John. I was in love with John before, and then he burnt me and then it didn't work out, so I don't know if I can do it again. I don't trust that something can work out. So you're projecting the past onto what? The future. You're projecting the past onto the future. Now here's kind of a bonus, but it's actually connected to number 5. To really trust, you have to be what? You have to live in the moment. Right now. You have to live right now. Because if you live right now, everything is good. If you live right now, anything is possible. If you live right now, the past is over and it can touch you not. In A Course in Miracles, it has a very, very, very beautiful saying about the past. And we're going to wrap it up after this. The only thing that we take from the past, the only real thing we take from the past, that's a better correction. That's the truth. The real quote. The only real thing we take from the past is the love that we shared there. Take that in. So everything that's of tragedy and all of that stuff, that's not real in the spiritual sense, in the real sense. It is just an illusion. But the love that you shared in the past is what you hold on to and what fuels you and brings you forward in your life, right? Okay? So number 5 in your blocks of trust is living in the past, and not just living in the past, but projecting your past onto your future, right? So what happens if you're living in the past, you're projecting on the future, you miss the what? The now, the now, the now. Take a deep breath, perfect time. Good. Well, I hope that you got something out of this talk. Please give me some comments below. I always respond to every comment. And I really thank you for being here, taking your time. I know your time is valuable. Please follow me on Instagram too, at Attract Positive Results. You see a little bit more about my personal life and my cats, which some of you know, and living in New York City too. So, all right, I love you so much. Trust a little bit more. Doubt less. Trust a little bit more. All right, I will see you very soon. Remember, today could be the best day of your life.